Something big is about to drop in Pittsburgh, as a new report from an insider has revealed a major update on one of the Penguins' star players and his future with the organization. We're going to break down exactly what Kyle Dubas' plan is heading out of this offseason into next season and why this team is in full fire sale mode all of a sudden. We're going to break it all down in this episode. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. For the percentage of you who are not subscribed to the channel, which is 68% of you, go down below, hit that free subscribe button because this is the place to be to keep up with everything to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the NHL. So let's dive right into it. We've been talking a lot about how, Brian Rust is on the trade block with the Pittsburgh Penguins. There's been a lot made out of that. And obviously, Erk Kalrsson, he had a career year last year. He had 70 points, 35 goals, 35 assists. A career year for the player, and his worth is probably at its peak right now, especially with this cap hit of only $5 million. But there's one player we haven't been talking so much about on the channel, and that is Erk Kalrsson, his future with the organization, with the Pittsburgh Penguins, because it is looking more cloudy as the days go on, and I'm getting less and less optimistic that he will be with the Pittsburgh Penguins when the season starts. But let's get right into it. Frank Seravalli said that on Erk Kalrsson, if they can get him down to a $7 or $7.5 million range for 2 more seasons, I think there's a team that would certainly take a flyer on that player. I think Carolina was one of those teams that spent time investigating. There's a lot of smoke around the Carolina Hurricanes and Erk Kalrsson, not just right now, but a couple seasons ago as well. So there's always been smoke there. I wonder if there is any fire. Now, it's very interesting. Erk Kalrsson is already, on retained salary. He's making 11.5 on his actual contract. He's only making $10 million against the cap with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And if the Pittsburgh Penguins, which they can retain salary in terms of retention slots and, of course, the actual salary itself, they have tons of cap space. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. If they can get him down to 7 or 7.5, apparently there's a couple teams that could be interested in his services. And you can see here, Dubas, this is also from Frank Seravalli. Dubas has been asking for a ton for both Brian Rust and Rickard Rakell, which, by the way, as he should, he views them as assets. They are assets. Brian Rust scored 31 goals last season. Rickard Rakell scored 35 goals last season. He had 70 points, and they both make $5 million and $5.1 million respectively. And obviously, Brian Rust makes a little bit more with the $5.1 million, but still roughly the same cap hit for almost the same production for both of them, and they bring different things to the table, of course. But he goes on to say he's still asking for a lot for Erk Kalrsson on the basis he's going to retain. So you're retaining salary. And Erk Kalrsson, if you take a look at, the seasons that he's had, not just the seasons with the Pittsburgh Penguins, but last season in particular, there's a lot to break down and get into here. And I mean, listen, the first thing is his age. He's getting older. If you're going to move off of him, it's got to be now at this point. You know all the injury history with him, with the Achilles injury, of course. You still acquired him, and obviously he's just a couple years removed from an 101-point season with the San Jose Sharks. So obviously for good reason after that season. But again, last season he played all 82 games. So the injury thing, has it hindered his play? A little bit, but he's still playing in every game. It's not like he's having to manage injuries or anything along those lines, right? He has 11 goals last season. He had 42 assists for 53 points. And in both seasons with the Pittsburgh Penguins, the last 2 seasons, I should say, when, since he's been acquired from the San Jose Sharks by Kyle Dubas, he's hovered in that area in the 50-point range. So a sharp decline, of course, from 101 points. I don't think anyone thought he was going to replicate that amazing season. But, if you put him on a team where he can be utilized on the power play, he's still, valued as an asset, especially his defense has never been great. And he's still, I think, evaluated as a great offensive defenseman that can help a power play. Again, terrible plus minus last season. The team wasn't that great, but he can play a ton of minutes still. And he's, he averaged 23 minutes, just over 23 minutes of ice time last season on not the greatest team. And he put up 53 points and he played all 82 games. So over 23 minutes of average ice time, 82 games. Somebody's going to view this guy as a hot commodity. Now, is it the Edmonton Oilers? This is from Oilers Nation, a hypothetical trade that Darnell Nurse and Janmark for Erk Kalrsson and Tristan Jarry. You get your goalie if you're the Edmonton Oilers to some degree. I mean, I wouldn't, if I was the Oilers, I wouldn't trust Tristan Jarry to bring you a Stanley Cup. I'll just leave it at that. But as Jay Fresh says, why would Pittsburgh ever make this trade in a million years? You're not getting any young value back whatsoever. You're taking on $9 million of Darnell Nurse. I don't think that makes too much sense, but it sounds like there is some interest out there from a lot of teams. Maybe Carolina. They retooled their defense completely on the fly. They lost, Brent Burns, a couple guys like that, Orlov, right? So maybe they could still have some interest in Erk Kalrsson. They also have a ton of cap space to work with, but the sentiment is he can help a team. And does he suck defensively? Yes, we all know this. Jay Fresh is saying right here, like he does. He's terrible defensively. We know this. But what he brings to you from the defensive end, offensively at least, is very good still. And he's still putting up 50 points on not the greatest team. Let's keep that in mind, right? So a lot of people, haven't watched him in Pittsburgh is what Jay Fresh is saying and don't know what the stats say either, who have decided that he's like a replacement level player now, and he's not. He's just not. He still holds a ton of value, especially on retained salary. Now, and speaking of retained salary, we'll get into that. Again, $11.5 million, but keep in mind, retained salary from San Jose already to make it work with the Pittsburgh Penguins at one point. He has 2 years left. He's going into year 7 of 8 of this contract next season, and he makes $10 million against your cap right now. If anyone was to acquire him from the Pittsburgh Penguins without retained salary, he makes $10 million against your cap. Now, obviously, there would be retained salary. Nobody can take that on right now. I mean, there's a few teams that probably could, but you don't want to because you want to make some other moves. Now, in terms of retained salary, if the Penguins retain $3 million, you still have $10 million to work with. And we know this team is not going to be, they're not going to make the playoffs next year. They are not. They're not looking to be competitive. I don't think Kyle Dubas, whatever he says, I don't think they're going to be competitive, and they're not looking to be competitive. If you retain $3 million, you get them down to $7 million AAV. A team can afford that, especially for a guy who can possibly still put up 80 points on, a contending team, can help a team in that way. And you still have $10 million in cap space if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you take a look at the lineup, though, the only thing I am a little bit scared of from the Pittsburgh Penguins side of things is this gets very, very scary if Carlson leaves. Of course, not defensively, you know that, but what he can offer offensively, you're taking 50 points off the board. Even on bad teams, somebody has to score, right? Let's keep that in mind. And I say a bad team, respectfully, the Penguins are not going to be competitive next year. You take Carlson out of there, you're taking out 50 points, and you're taking out NHL experience. Who goes into that role? Like, is it Clifton, right? Like, I don't think it is. You acquired him in a trade to be a depth defenseman for you, but I don't think Clifton is an answer there in the top 4. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's one of the prospects. I don't think that's an answer right now, but it's going to get very interesting. I think something big is about to drop, and I have to say, I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to predict it right now. One of, at least, I think all 3 of them end up getting moved. I have to be honest. At least 2 of them get moved, but to start the season, one of Rickard Rakell, Brian Rust, or Erk Kalrsson will not be on the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think it could be Erk Kalrsson at this point. Sounds like there is a lot of interest. And, a lot of teams want top 6 forwards, but Kyle Dubas does see all of them as valuable assets and won't give them up for nothing or spare parts. So it's going to be very interesting. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Erk Kalrsson coming to, your team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, being moved from the Pittsburgh Penguins. It should be a very interesting rest of the summer for Kyle Dubas. Let me know how you feel in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins and going on in the NHL.